In some parts of the country, it does seem like the America that we know and love doesn't exist anymore. Massive demographic changes have been foisted upon the American people. And they're changes that none of us ever voted for and most of us don't like. From Virginia to California, we see stark examples of how radically, in some ways, the country has changed. Now, much of this is related to both illegal and, in some cases, legal immigration that, of course, progressives love.
Welcome back to AM Joy. I'm Jonathan Capehart in for Joy Reid. In the same week that we mark 1 year since the violent clashes in Charlottesville, Fox News host Laura Ingraham is under fire for what some are calling an echo of the white nationalist rhetoric. Her rant about demographic changes Wednesday night came as she criticized Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who she claimed were trying to, quote, remake the country by embracing immigrants. It was a message that was championed by former KKK leader David Duke, who tweeted calling it, quote, one of the most important truthful monologues in the history of the MSM, referring to the mainstream media. Duke later deleted that tweet. On Thursday, Ingraham disavowed the support she received from Duke and other white nationalists and said her views were being distorted.
The purpose of last night's angle was to point out that the rule of law, meaning secure borders, is something that used to bind our country together. And despite what some may be contending, I made explicitly clear that my commentary had nothing to do with race or ethnicity.
Joining me now, Jess McIntosh, Executive Director of Share Blue Media, Zerlina Maxwell, Director of Progressive Programming at SiriusXM, Vanity Fair Special Correspondent Gabriel Sherman, and Eric Bollert, Senior Writer at Share Blue Media. All thank you very much. In that sound of Laura Ingraham that we played at the open of this segment, the thing that kills me is the verb foisted, that these things were foisted upon the American people. Why is that such a loaded term? Who wants to take that jump ball?
It sounds like she's saying it was forced upon the American people, and that somehow immigrants who are coming to the country, whether it be without the documentation or with the correct documentation or to seek legal asylum, somehow are forcing a reality in the United States that white America does not want or that they're uncomfortable with. And what she's really saying is that when the country is not a majority white, it makes the people that watch Laura Ingraham and agree with her upset. It upsets them to see brown and black people in public spaces. And I think also we have to remember that the stories that we're seeing in the news and in our social media feeds of white people calling the police on people of color for napping and existing in public spaces,
Becky,
this is all connected to this rhetoric. Not that it's a new phenomena, but the fact that it's white people are feeling more and more comfortable to call the police is because of this rhetoric. This contributes to that reality.
In the year since Charlottesville, which was where then, and obviously the timing of her racist monologue was not coincidental. We are reaching a year of this. And when we sat here last year after that, the question was, is the president propping up white nationalists? Is he supported by white nationalists? And now we have to ask the question, is the president a white nationalist, and is Fox News white nationalist propaganda?
Are we, I mean, on that form, are we really asking that question? I think we know the answer to that.
We do. But I think a year ago it was, my God, I can't believe this is happening. And right now it's, okay, now we have a white nationalist in the White House. What are we going to do about it? And that is a terrifying place to be.
I mean, a couple of things. For Fox News, this is obviously not the easiest situation because corporate America doesn't actually like to be associated with white nationalist views. And we have seen advertiser boycotts in the past. And as I've reported in the past, the advertising for Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity actually has not been growing. They are supported by the subscriber fees that cable viewers pay the cable companies. But this is not a growth business to be in if you're trafficking in these extreme right-wing views. And so for Fox News' management, especially the Murdochs, it's a calculation. This is short-term ratings gold, but for the long term, they could be eroding the asset that has been very profitable.
So then Gabriel, and I'll let you come in here, Eric. So then, Gabriel, what is it going to take for Fox News to pivot, not just pivot, shift change their focus, change their angle, put Laura Ingraham out of a job.
The problem is they're essentially held hostage by their audience, the Trump base. These are the hardcore 30% or so of America who will listen to anything Donald Trump says. And we've seen in the past, back when the Megyn Kelly feud with Fox News was happening in the 2016 election, when Fox News took the side of its anchor over Donald Trump, the audience rejected Fox and took Trump's side. So this is an unprecedented situation.
They're in the same problem that the Republican Party is facing.
Right.
They've been catering to this small xenophobic Trump base for so long that they're stuck having to continue to do that because they'll turn on them.
And to Gabriel's point, there's a Fox News audience, according to the AP, the audience at Trump rallies is primarily white, and so it is for Fox. On average, its primetime audience this year is 91% white and non-Hispanic.
Seems low, honestly.
Seriously.
91 seems low. Look, I mean, there's a cancer on this country, and it's being fed by parts of the mass media, and most specifically Fox News. I mean, if fascists had run a TV network in Germany in 1934, it would look a lot like Fox News today. It would sound a lot like Fox News. And I think, to Gabriel's point, for the short term, you know, Fox News was the opposition party under Obama, right? They were the opposition party during the 2016 campaign. They turn around, Republicans run the federal government, so what are they going to do for ratings? They kind of wallow in the alt-right gutter. You know, they go for the white nationalists, things like that. So, and it's disgusting, and, you know, when we find out for about the 55th time, you know, Rupert Murdoch has no moral compass.
Yeah, the one thing I was struck by was the degree to which Laura Ingraham sort of traffics in Donald Trump's gaslighting. I mean, here she is. She was on national TV, and she talked specifically about demographic change, which is
legal immigration,
which is race.
Specified legal.
Demography is another way of talking about race. And then the next night she says, "I wasn't talking about race, but we can all see the video."
Well, right, and that's the thing. I mean, she can honestly say, I wasn't talking about race because I didn't use the word race. I said demographics. But that's part of the battle, it seems, that we're fighting, is that they can honestly say, I'm not talking about race. You're always talking about race, but meanwhile everyone else, like, no, we know what you're saying.
Right.
I mean, you look over her shoulder. You see there in the video that we're playing.
It's the border.
She's got the border crossing. She's got farming and farmland.
Right.
What? We're not talking about about race. We're not talking. I mean, someone take this from me.
When David Duke is saying this is the truth, and I'm so happy that somebody is speaking the truth, regardless of whether or not he deleted it after the fact.
Right.
She's talking about race. She was speaking specifically to white nationalists, and they applauded her. So I don't think there's any confusion over what you're saying.
I will say, particularly the mainstream press and a lot of Beltway pundits, there's kind of the shock. I can't believe Fox is doing this. Race baiting was the hallmark of the Obama programming for 8 years. And a lot of people on the left were ringing very loud alarm bells. And a lot of the DC establishment media kind of rolled their eyes, right? You're being sensitive, snowflakes, this is just hardball partisan politics. We now have a cable news channel that traffics in white nationalism, and more importantly, a White House that promotes it. Well, so I think it would have been helpful if people had paid a little more attention over the years.
I mean, we're seeing daily life, like outside of the media, consequences of this. In the last year, white extremist murder has doubled. Right. Which has now become twice as many people as Islamic terror have killed. We're seeing this happening in our daily lives, and it's being fed by the media, and it's being promoted by the White House. And at this point, we've gone from being upset about undocumented immigrants to being upset about the asylum seekers, to being upset about legal immigrants, to looking at already naturalized citizens and seeing which ones we can strip of citizenship. This is getting narrower and narrower, focusing directly on people of color who have come to this country. And I don't want to think about where we're going to be 1 year from now, if we have come this far in the last year.
Go ahead. What I was struck by, the operative word was we, right? Who is the collective we? I mean, it's very clear when you say 91% of your audience is white, the we is white people. Secondly, Congressman Steve King had talked about you can't replace America's birth rates with other people's babies. This use of we and other is just classic race baiting, and this is a staple of this administration.
You know, something, Jess, you were saying a moment ago reminded me of this Fox and Friends audio from June 6, 2017. I think we may have used it, but I want to at least say now the price they have to pay for multiculturalism is the risk that you're walking on the sidewalk and a man or a woman will purposefully mow you down, and then while you're maybe finishing your cappuccino in a cafe or having a drink, someone will put a knife to your throat and slit it with the attempt perhaps to behead you. I mean, this is what you're talking about, is just sort of fanning these flames that the non-white person who is living around you, who is barbecuing in the park, who's selling lemonade or water on their sidewalk, who's sleeping in their own residence hall while studying at an elite Ivy League university, is someone who's out to kill you.
Right. Again, that kind of goes back to my point where they used to be focused on partisan politics. Republicans run the country, so now they're going to say, well, we're going to focus on everyday citizens. We're going to declare war on brown and black people. It's incredibly dangerous. This is outside the realm of politics. As Jess was saying, this is everyday life now. They've declared war on a huge portion of our population.
So then how do we counteract it? For real. I mean, we can hammer at this. We can have panels like this every day until something is done. But really, what can be done? Gabriel, I'll start with you, since you cover our industry. Is it advertisers running away from them? Is it consumers, viewers, activists hammering away at the sponsors?
I think there's several things going on. One, obviously, is to use Laura Ingram's word, the demographics of Fox's audience. Increasingly, it's getting older and whiter. So this is a shrinking population of America. So in the long term, this influence is on the way down. In the short term, it's incredibly destructive. But yes, advertiser boycotts can bring pressure. We saw in the past Laura Ingraham has had to walk back things she said. So, I mean, I think that and the ballot box are really the way that these forces can be contained.
Really, at the ballot box, though, I mean, that's not stemmed Fox News one bit.
Well, I would say two things. One, the media has a responsibility to call out racism using the word racism when it's present. So there's a tendency in the media to be very moderate when labeling something racist, and I understand why that is. But this is the moment in which things are actually racist. It's not, you can't deny the racism that's present in our culture. Additionally, though, we shouldn't be giving platforms to white nationalists and acting like that's just another side of the coin, and an argument that we should
give credence
to and merit, and then say, well, it's just a debate, it's just a dialogue. No, white nationalism is calling for the removal and the killing of people of color and Jews and homosexuals and anybody who's not white, straight, and male, right? And so I think that we have to call that out before more people die as a result of this extreme rhetoric.
I think there's not much we can do about Fox News because it is a propaganda arm of the state at this point. We have a White House that is very quickly descending into authoritarianism. The only way that happens in countries where that happens is if there is a media arm that is willing to prop it up by lying, by disseminating, by race baiting, by all of those means necessary. That's the world that Fox News is playing. We probably can't stop that without stopping the Trump administration ourselves, but we can. I used to go on Fox News every now and then. I thought it was sort of important to have the opposition show up and make a point. Not anymore. We all need to stop giving them any sort of, I wouldn't be going on German state TV in 1933. So we all need to step back from participating in that and understanding what it is.
And to that larger point that they both made, there has to be, shunning isn't even the right word, but I mean, the DC press has covered for Fox News forever. I mean, in 2009, the Obama administration came forward and said, they are not a news network. We are not going to treat them.
And all hell broke loose.
They got buried, and they said, okay, if you guys like them so much. But we're still to the point where this is a racist network. Let's say so. Why are we not pretending?
I like Shep Smith. There is occasionally good stuff on that network. It doesn't matter.
I think that's the other thing that may bring some pressure. If people inside Fox, and we saw a correspondent last week resign, if there are mass resignations where the employees are basically revolting, that might cause management to put some brakes on.
Is one of the solutions the White House press corps just leaving the room empty, sending interns, or just sending a pool. Just have your one print, one TV, one wire, one online, whatever, and just have that be that.
I mean, they had the week off because Trump was on vacation, and he's going to be off for more. I would love it if they came back and no one showed up. Right? They turned on the lights, and people decided this is a joke because you know there's no factual information at that press briefing. It's a platform for lies, and it would be fantastic. Look, we've been talking about there should be collective pushback. Finally, this week, I guess there's going to be 70 newspapers all printing the same editorial about press and his war on the Trump and his war on the press. That's a start. It's about 2 years late, but not showing up for the press briefings would be great. Would send a real message.
Well, Jess and Zerlina are joining me later in the show. Gabriel Sherman, Eric Bullard, thank you very much for being here. Up next, your moment of Maxine. Congresswoman Maxine Waters joins us live.
He's afraid of Maxine. In fact, he's afraid of me. He's afraid of the women who are going to be coming into Congress. He talks about there's no place for racism, and then he speaks that way.
That's the House Democratic leader having a strong message for Donald Trump and showed her support for her fellow California Congresswoman Maxine Waters during our interview earlier this morning. Now it's time for our own moment of Maxine. Congresswoman Maxine Waters, thank you very much for coming on the show.
You're absolutely welcome, and I'm delighted to be here.
So I have to ask you, since I asked Leader Pelosi her reaction to the president attacking you, saying you have, quote, a low IQ. Now that you are on the air and with us, what is your reaction to the continual attacks of the President of the United States against you personally?
I'm not going to be diverted in what I'm doing to bring attention to this lying con man. I am going to continue to resist him. I'm going to fight. I'm going to tell the truth about him, and I'm not going to allow him to somehow intimidate me. I don't care what he says about me. I know who I am. I know what I do. I am the ranking member of the Financial Services Committee of the United States House of Representatives, where I guide my colleagues in the Democratic Party on financial services issues dealing with Wall Street, all of the insurance companies, all of the oversight agencies that are responsible for financial services matter. And so I do my work. I'm going to continue to do that, but I'm going to continue to go after him. I have been after him from the minute he revealed himself and defined himself when he was running for office, when he disrespected women and talked about grabbing women by their private parts, where he mimicked and mocked a disabled journalist. This is a lying, deplorable, divisive, dangerous man who does not deserve to be the President of the United States. He can say anything he wants to say about me, my friends, and others like LeBron James or Don, any of these people. I know that he is trying to get us away from pointing out who he really is and defining him for what he is. I'm not going to stop. I'm in this fight.
Well, Congresswoman, among the many things that he has said about you, many of the derogatory things he has said about you, he has called you, quote, the new star of the Democratic Party. The new star of the Democratic Party, it's as if he's trying to make you a liability for the Democrats, that if the Democrats take the majority, that you are going to be in charge in some way. I mean, are you a liability to the Democratic Party? I mean, you are almost, there aren't very many of your colleagues who are doing what you are doing, which is calling on the president to be impeached, calling on your colleagues in the House to impeach the president. Does that not make you a liability for the Democratic Party?
Listen, he's trying to frighten, whites about Maxine Waters. Here's this black woman, and she's controversial, and she said things about me, and she does not move away from her position on impeachment, etc. He's trying to frighten them. It's not going to work. In the final analysis, even some of those people who voted for him, who are going to be hurt by his tariff policies and who's going to be hurt by his tax policies, are going to see who he is eventually. Many of them are going to move away from him. I know there's a lot of talk about his constituency and the people who are going to stand with him no matter what he does. It's not enough of them. They're not going to win. We're going to win because we're on the right track for protecting our democracy. We're the real patriots who are standing up for what we believe this democracy is all about. And so let him continue to try and frighten people, to scare people, to call folks names. It's not going to work. We're too smart for that. We're going to stay on the issues. We're going to talk about health care. We're going to talk about Obamacare. We're going to talk about the fact that they're trying to get rid of the biggest policy that has been made to ensure that all people have access to health care. Getting rid of pre-existing conditions is what's in this Obamacare, and he does not want that to happen. We're going to talk about this infrastructure. We're going to talk about job creation. And I want to tell you, many of the jobs that he's touting, about, that he's saying he's responsible for, are going to be undermined by his tariffs in the way that he's creating the tariff war. It's going to hurt California. We're responsible for the export of fruits and vegetables and wine and nuts, etc. And already we're feeling the brunt of these tariffs. And in other places in this country. And so we're on the issues. We're not going to stop. Call me whatever he wants to. It's not going to intimidate me.
Congresswoman, so if the Democrats retake the House, Democrats will be in charge. They will need a new speaker. There are a lot of people who are saying that the former speaker, Nancy Pelosi, now House Minority Leader, she shouldn't be in contention to be the next Speaker of the House if Democrats take back the majority this November. Where are you on that fight? Should Nancy Pelosi step aside if the Democrats retake the House and let a new generation of Democratic leaders step in?
Listen, I don't believe in this business about people basically criticizing one, and because of that criticism, you have to step aside. You have to get out of the way. I want to tell you, Democratic politics is such that people get a chance to vote for whomever they want to be leader. And some of the people who are running for office now may change their minds, even if they've said they don't think they're going to vote for Nancy Pelosi. And so it's up to our caucus to make that decision. And I don't think she should voluntarily do anything. As she has said, she has not asked anybody at this point. She is focused on taking back the House. And in taking back the House, I think there will be a lot of Democrats who will be appreciative for that. And let's see what happens when the vote is taken.
Congresswoman, your birthday is on Wednesday.
Yes.
So pre-happy birthday. But on Wednesday, if you could be granted one birthday wish, what would that be?
I guess now my biggest birthday wish would be that we're able to get a leader of this country who represents us, who has the respect of all of our allies all over the world, someone who has an appreciation for the Constitution, someone that does not lie every morning when they get up with these tweets, someone who not only respects women, but all of the people, and instead of dividing us, would take leadership to bring us all together. This is the greatest country in the world, but he's undermining our democracy. He is making us ashamed of him, and he has been destructive to this democracy. This is a man who's criticizing NFL players because they're not doing what he thinks they should do in saluting the flag in the way that he wants them to. He doesn't even know the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. And so he is not truthful. He is a hypocrite. And I would wish that we could remove him from office and go about getting the kind of president that we could all be proud of. And if he's not impeached, if he cannot be impeached, 2020 is coming up, and I believe that American people are going to do the right thing for our country, stand up for what is right, and get rid of this man who is embarrassing us all.
And with that, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, thank you very much. Again, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you so very much. Good to see you.
Rudy Giuliani is out once again this morning doing his best to defend Donald Trump. We'll show you how that worked out next.